Well, we promised you that we would be back. Did you miss us? Jesse Lee here with George G. Max Smith. And it is time for the Porsche Battle event at Kyalami. And I couldn't wait for this. And I was just told a minute ago that this event got even better. How about four different battles on track? Like I said, I'm Jesse Lee, and I'm joined by the South African himself, George Smith.
JC, so good to be here. Like you did say, we did promise this, and added to the madness, Pro and Silver here, and of course then that's Cup Cars and GT4s. So 4 different races all taking place at the same time. Complete chaos for 90 minutes here on a short Kyalami. We've had a little taste for our Super Pole earlier on for the GT3s that will be taking place in our 24-hour next week. But tonight, this is the important thing, Porsche Cup action. And for me, Porsches are the way of the future. They seem to have found themselves in a little bit of a nerf spot in the regular GT3 side for the racing under the BOP currently, but you know, that doesn't matter here. Cup Cars and Caymans are the name of the game. Looking here at Bart Matcha from Connection Lost, currently just sitting down in 20th during free practice, driving in the pro class, and we're just going to keep our eye out for everybody here. When we go over to quali, it's going to be a bit of a madness. So many cars out on the circuit. I mean, there's going to be 28, I believe, across the field. So it's going to be an interesting, quali. Going to be an interesting race. And with an hour and 30 on the clock, that is plenty of time to get something done. It's not down to the opening corner. Again, we're setting ourselves up for a bit of an endurance stint. So can be lost in the opening corner. Can't win the race there though.
No, you sure can't. And for those of you that were with us, we just finished up 24-hour qualifying for the invitational split. So why not consider this sort of a support race 1 week in advance? That's at least how I'm going to look at it. As practice concludes, you're already seeing what makes these Porsches so interesting to watch. And just to let you know what the format is going to be today, we are going to send out the Cup Cars first, I believe, is what we're going to do for qualifying. So they are going to go out in groups, and that is all controlled by the stewards we have here, George.
Stewards keeping an eye out, making sure that everybody behaves themselves. A couple of new names on the circuit that I haven't seen over in our broadcasts. A couple of familiar names as well. So all around, just looking excited to seeing what people have to offer. Of course, I took a nice little break over the December period, as did a lot of us. But coming into January, February, hop back on the broadcasting side, and you know, kicking things off here with a Porsche Cup type race. And for me, that's what it all kind of started out with originally when I got into commentary. Was starting off with a Porsche Cup out in Project Cars 2. And you know, now coming through, this is going to be an exciting look at the mad dash as everybody makes their way out of pit lane to try and get themselves as little bits of racetrack as they can, get themselves set up for a 30-minute quali. So it's a plenty of time, you know, very similar to what we saw for our 24-hour quali. That opening part, expect the times to drop down, expect things to be pretty tight and close. And Thiago Lima, one of the Portuguese drivers, going to be out on circuit trying to get himself a good quali lap. Plenty of pressure going to be put on immediately, but giving each other space. Thiago Lima gets let past. And what a beautiful time of day to be starting out. 6 a.m.
Isn't it?
The sun is rising. It is aesthetically beautiful.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Well, what we have here are the Porsche Cup cars as advertised out in front. And please do try and keep up at home. We're trying to keep up ourselves here in the box. This race wasn't immediately meant to have the silver drivers in the same race. Executive decision in the 11th hour to make this a 4-class race. We have Porsche Cup Pro, Porsche Cup Silver, GT4 Cayman Pro, and GT4 Cayman Silver. So 4 races, and we're only going to let one category out at a time. So there's 2 categories here today. You're seeing the Cup cars, both Pro and Silver, out on the track right now. And they are all going to get their qualifying laps in. And hopefully, we see sort of a more, I don't know, it seemed a bit strange to me, George, in practice. Maybe the Cup cars and the GT4s aren't that far off, but they were all mixed together.
Well, I think there is going to be a bit of mixture. Thiago Lima going to lead us away then for our first lap into the braking zone. A big whine
Look
from
at
the
him.
cold brakes coming down. He wrestles the back end. And here we go with the Pro Tier number 93 Porsche Cup car coming out to barbecue. And this is just such a time of day to be out on the circuit. A little bit colder, 27 degrees, but not cold at all for 6 a.m. And of course, the shadows and the lighting, particularly good time of day to be out here. So Thiago Lima then in through Clubhouse, using a lot of that inside curb. The softer suspension, nice and bouncy, onto the splitter cam as we go down through the S's, nice and low, and then you start the climb. The ascent begins. And again, just looking to find those apexes, getting onto the brakes, and then just carrying some speed through. Got to be careful not to yoink the power with the lack of traction control in these bad boys. They got the top end that can go for days, but getting there a little bit treacherous without traction control. A little bit of dirt being kicked up through the mine shaft as Lima then goes into the braking zone for Crocodile. Lovely view from here at the Porsche little clubhouse section as he goes through Cheetah pretty unscathed into the braking zone again. The screech from the cold brakes coming out as Lima then out through Ingwe and down the start, finished straight over the line to set off his lap at 144.169. And there's a couple of cars still to chase down and set their times, but Lima got himself out quite far ahead. Babin almost 4/10 behind, 396 will go into second.
Yeah, Thiago Lima has a bit of a fan following in chat. The Portuguese fans, rowdy as always. Love to see you guys out here supporting your team. Of course, Phoenix Portuguese team Orange is the team that Lima is supporting, or driving for, I should say. Go ahead and tell us your all too early predictions of who's going to win this race. I have a few guesses myself, and one of which is not anywhere on the sheet that I see yet. But either way, Nick Babin does slot into second, some 4/10 off the pace. And if earlier qualifying for the 24 is any indication, we're likely to see these times get a lot closer here as qualifying continues. But either way, Samuel in the 996 slots into second place as everyone just trying to find their pace and their feeling. And from experience, George, these cars, they're not the most hospitable machines to drive in, but that's sort of what makes them so fun too.
Well, the best part is like you start it up, you get the roar from the engine, and then you get the soundtrack that starts playing like bad boys, what you gonna do. Like, that's just the nature of this car. It's difficult to drive, but it's a lot of fun. And once you start to get to understand its nuances, it can be incredibly rewarding as well. Frustrating at first, but you get to this stage, we are into the quali session, you've pretty much dialed in your setup, you got yourself to the point where you're either going to get murdered pushing it out to the limits, or you found a safe balancing point. Lars Buchenfeld is going to be coming over the line. He's half a second up here on his previous time. He's going to be dropping down closer into the front of the grid. Does go onto the second row for ERC Academy, and will then be a little bit off the pace, half second then, 4.65 seconds off of Lima, who leads out from Portugal then, still up at the front. We have not seen the likes of, where's our man Mr. Noble? Has he where is he actually? He's just chilling like a villain.
So here's what I think. This is just a
He's
rough
going to start
theory.
from
Everybody,
the back. Okay,
everybody
start. Last to first challenge, like Noble.
put your tinfoil hats on here.
No, if
He
you're gonna
was
call that
4/10
now,
of a lap quicker in practice. What if, George, he does decide to do that last to first challenge?
Well, he is, because he's not going out, right? And he's just going to sit there and or he's done his banker lap. But it's very, very slow compared to the pace, and that's going to put him behind a couple of the rest of the field as well.
Oh,
Babin
that's not
catching.
going to work.
Ooh, naughty in the
Oh, this race is stewarded, and they will not like that.
Oh, both of them are going to pull themselves over, though. I think both their laps are wrecked up. Babin, is he going to just shoot away already? I mean, he's missing half the left side of that car. Now, going to have to peel into the pits and going for a bit of a dive down onto the inside. Babin was up on his time. The driver in front of him, was he still setting a time, though? I mean, that's the question that we always have to ask, Jesse. I mean, even if you are quicker, you're not entitled to just make a dive. And if the driver in front was just on an outlap, then that's a completely different situation. Should have been yielding to a driver that's coming up. But if that driver in front was also on a lap, then Stuart's going to say naughty, brew. Naughty. And especially in South Africa, they would say brew at the end of it, like naughty, brew.
Very interesting. Well, I'll tell you something else that's interesting, too. Mike Noble has emerged from the pit lane and is now out on an outlap. So he does intend to set some sort of lap. We'll see if he actually attempts to qualify, or maybe it's also possible he just didn't want to take part in the early part of the melee.
He's probably just gonna drift. Like we've seen him.
Do you think
get
so?
Some gaps in these cup car races and then just go for some steezy drifting. I've seen it before. I mean, I've seen lesser madness, and Noble being up at the front might not just want to lead the race away, might want to chase through anyway. I think if he is going out, it's not to go and set a pole sitting lap. I think it's to just keep himself a little bit fresh. That's my theory. You know, call me crazy, but that's my theory.
Well, we're commentators. We are not magicians or fortune tellers, so we're just sort of guessing.
I can juggle. I can.
Can
juggle.
you?
Can. Three items though, not 4.
3 items. Have you ever juggled anything dangerous?
Oh, the drifts. You see, started.
No, hey. Well, apparently you are a mind reader, George Smith.
And a juggler. So Mike Noble then is going to go in for the attack. We are going to go for a little on board. He might be setting a fast lap anyway. So into the braking zone he goes. And the drifts are coming out already. I'm telling you, he's going to give us a little bit of a beauty show. That's what he's going for here. Always driving fast. I don't know. It's hard to tell with Mike. I feel like he's the Troll 9000 Lord. He's even trolled us with his delivery here. It's pretty delightful. Oh, he's definitely trying to do some drifts for us. I feel like he's trying to drift for us. He's trying to break free. And then you have to cue the rest, like you into a cappella in the background, Jesse.
I promised you that this Porsche Cup race was must-see TV, but this is not exactly how I envisioned it. But he's absolutely right, George Smith is. Usually Mike Noble goes for a very particular style when he paints his race cars, and this is probably the most subdued livery I've ever seen the man enter into a race. So I don't know if maybe he just didn't have time to come up with something today, or he actually, wanted to make something.
Is actually sitting 5th here at the moment, just whilst we talk about the paint jobs and liveries. So maybe an interesting race in the top 10 for sure. Mike Noble sitting in 16th. I mean, I feel like he will improve 3.4 seconds quicker regardless of what he does. He goes into the pit lane. So, JC, theory semi-confirmed. He's not setting a lap. So he
okay.
Showboating.
So what he did there, because come on, that's not Mike Noble pace. He's still going last to first, but he's going last to first in his category. So Mike Noble, in the 1, 2, 3, will likely start at the tail end of the Porsche Cup field, which is his category, but he's going to start behind the silver drivers, as far as I'm aware. So that's it's very clever. There's actually some Cup drivers that have qualified in behind him, so he's starting vaguely near the back.
I mean, theory crafts are always going to come out at this point. I mean, We're looking at some driver times improving across the board. Andre Felix at this point seems to be up as well. Half a sec. Ooh, the tank slapper in front and onto the flashes. Luckily that car didn't bounce across the track, but the number 88 maybe a little bit rattled. As does he lose a bit of time coming into that? He does, maybe 2/10, but still potentially can get himself up towards close to the very back, or close to getting onto the front row, maybe sitting on the second row as it stands. But going to be a good shootout attempt nonetheless. Number 88, a little bit wide coming out through Crocodile. That is going to cost him slightly. Still doesn't find that additional 2/10 that he lost on the run up to Lucorp, but into the braking zone for Ingwe and out through the exit. He goes. He has found out some time there, almost half a second up, but he does go second row. Not quite good enough for the front.
Well, as per usual, we do have live timing available to you. Please check the link in the chat to follow along at home in qualifying and indeed throughout the race. Now, what I think is going to happen here is here in another minute or two, all the Cup cars are going to be called back to pit row by race control, and they will
I think it's
release.
2 minutes, you're right, yeah. Or, yeah, 15 at the 15-minute mark, right? That would be...
Yes, I think they're going to release the Cup, or excuse me, they're going to recall the Cup cars and release the GT4 Cayman class, both Pro and Silver. So, like I said, four races going on here in 2 different qualifying sessions that is joined together. That's why it was a 30-minute session. So, they're coming up to the end of their qualifying time. Nick Babin trying to gain more position and potentially get the pole position away. Can he do it in the 707? Does he get it? Yes, indeed, he does. A 43.566 for Nick Babin, taking pole position from Lima here. What will Lima do? Where is the rebuttal from the 93?
Lima is up on his time as well. The orange and black number 93 making his way through the S's. Thanks to everybody in the chat joining us here for the RCI TV Porsche Battle event at Kyalami. Cup cars versus Caymans. Pro and silver splits for both. So complete chaos going to come down when trying to track the progress for us. Luckily for you guys, we're going to do our best to keep you up to date with where things stand. But currently, Mr. Lima losing a bit of time coming through the run down into what is now Crocodile. And still down by half a second. Oh, that's going to cost him even more time. Loses the back end. Does manage to keep the car facing the right direction. But it's a lot of time, a lot of curb and anti-cut being used there. That's cost him furthermore. This will not be the fire back attempt. And I don't think it's going to be enough. Babin at the nick of time gets it in. This will be a final shot attempt for Lima, though. He goes over the time at 15:10 on the clock. So just ahead of the end of their session, he will get one more time, and the rest of the field looking like they're in. Buchenfeld looking like he might get an extra one. Fikete is going to finish up his timing. Babin is going to fire away this as his final lap. He is up on his time too into what is... Oh, that just looked so neat and tidy. He just stuck it in through it, and he has found some time out through Ingwe too. So very nice entry into Cheetah. Is this going to count? He goes across the line. 1:43.566 will then be his best lap, his last lap, not quite beating it. Lima into the pits, and now begins the qualifying for the Caymans, the GT4s. The Cup cars are done and dusted, Jesse Lee.
Yeah, and what an excellent battle between the Cup cars, and that is where they will start. Well, this is the battle for the second half of the grid. These are the GT4 Porsche Caymans now, both Pro and Silver. They'll get about the same amount of time. They actually probably get about a minute less considering, you know, just how the first half shook out. But either way, get about 14 minutes now. And these cars right here, I kind of like the Cayman, to be honest. It's a little less dramatic, but I feel like you get better control with one of these.
Your GT4s are, you know, inevitably that way in nature. I think it's a bit of a sadness part looking at the lineup and seeing so few of the GT4s actually coming through. So for me, maybe a couple more GT4s would be nice to see. But you know, got to take what you can get, and props to, I guess, the drivers signing up who have gone to go with a class that's not so favored. It's not easy driving around in a smaller class compared to everybody else. You know that they're all racing amongst themselves. But Bart Matcha in that connection last race, number 55. You're going to jump on board with him then, Jesse, for his first quali lap.
Yeah, we sure are. As he goes through turn 1, the kink. I like how they call a kink a turn, but that's the proper way around it. So I do appreciate that. Going down into turn 2, Bart Macho, one of those people that Mr. Whoa, getting a little sideways there, as you will do in a Porsche of any variety. But George Smith was talking about drivers that did select the lower class. Bart Macho could easily be up in the top 5 here in the Cup class. Decided to go with the GT4 Cayman as we're coming towards sunset. It's sunrise right now, though, as this lap has looked a little bit wayward to start with, but he has honed it in now and has full control over the vehicle. We'll have to figure out if it's faster or slower to sort of drift around the corner ever so slightly. Not Need for Speed, mind you, so it should be slower, but you never know in a car like this. I know sometimes they don't mind being completely sideways. Good positioning on the corners and the curbs. They're a little slow out for my taste, but going up towards Leacop now for the first time. It's very important you get this set of corners right here, and you're going to get blasted with sun in your face here as you turn the corner. Bam, right there. Hard to find the apex to the second part of that corner, and now down the hill he goes, needing every little bit down mine shaft as he has to get this particular braking zone perfect. As we go into Cheetah now, can he get to the inside apex? Once again, the sun flashing in your face this early morning qualifying. Excellently done. Finds the apex and the limit. Now, can he get it right through Cheetah? Yes, indeed, he does. Final turn, and we will see. Bart Macho will be the one who sets the pace for the GT4 field. And where does he come in as he crosses the line? Oh, yes, a 51.450 sets the pace, but he's immediately beaten by the 56 behind him, who is 0.4 faster at a 50.997.
Yeah, I mean, we were looking at this and just thinking to ourselves, what is going to come down? It is going to be Helicalio then, as it's such a small field of cars. They don't really need the same length of time for quali as the cars before them. So even though it feels like they get that minute less, it's still plenty of time for them to get in. And Jesperi Helicalio just hit that fired lap from the get-go. It's always comfortable to be 0.4 quicker than your rival as your sort of, what is it, banker lap, we would call it. And from there, you can just improve. You can just get better. So Helicalio just going straight back out, trying to improve. Matcha up on his lap. He should be, in terms of what we saw earlier on. Didn't look quite in control of his car. Mike Voigt bench. He's also up on his time. Ayrton's up on his time. DuPont's up on his time. So all these drivers getting up on their times, getting their banker laps in, and then just starting to find a little bit of pace.
Yeah, as I sort of expected, Matcha lost a significant portion of time in the first 4 corners, as we saw when we were riding on board of him. He's having to counter steer way more than you ever would want to, and he gained a ton of time in the first sector on this lap. So this might be good enough for the pole position in his category here as he comes back around. Meanwhile, everybody else sort of in the same ballpark here, in at least in the top 5 for the GT4 class. And indeed, predicted, Bart Macha goes to pole in the GT4 Cayman class as he sets the brand new benchmark. But where's Voigt going to end up? He does not improve on his lap in the 20. But Bart Macha on provisional pole for GT4.
Yeah, it was always going to be somewhere up there for Matcha, and good to see him just managing to iron out those few early on issues that he had on that initial lap. He fired away, got things settled, and now preparing himself to try and better that time as well. Never feel comfortable when you're out on the circuits, and that is for certain. Sousa there is also out. Is he currently also qualifying? Is Sousa actually in pole at the moment? No, Sousa getting then disqualified out. Wasn't meant to be out on the circuit. So it is still Matcha then that leads us away in this provisional quali session for these guys. 8 minutes to go on the clock. Provisionally in pole for Matcha. Ilicalio then starts second in the GT4s, and it will be Ertan starting in third, just in the second class. So craziness. If you guys are only joining us now for the first time, we're going to have pro and a silver split for both the Cayman GT4s that we're looking at quali now, and then the GT3 Cup cars that we saw do quali previously in the first 15 minutes of the session, all out on the circuit at the same time. Going to be completely crazy. I believe, I mean, obviously it's they only racing for points within their own classes, but Pride is a completely different thing. If you can beat a couple of Cup cars out in your GT4, you're going to be pretty happy.
I certainly would be. I wouldn't care what class I'm in. If I can beat a faster class, I will absolutely take it. But none of that occurring right now, as Voigt getting across the line again. Does he improve? Yes, he does. He goes to GT4 pole with a 50.769. Good enough for pole, just 2/1000ths quicker than Bart Macha, who was on a flying lap. I think he invalidated it, George, and it reset to pit road. So is Bart Macha going to be okay with starting second? No, he is not. In fact, he has went to pit road. He has reset, and I reckon he'll get about 2 shots at this pole position now, as the gauntlet has been thrown down by Voigt in the 20, and anything is possible here with these cars. He is going to have to find spaces, Bart Macha, as you see him shaking the car out. And Jordan Daly, we haven't talked about him at all yet. He has not done particularly well in the qualifying session so far, still trying to reel the car in. But what does he have in that silver class of GT4, I wonder?
Gonna have to wait and see where he runs out at the top of the hill. So just past the halfway mark for him. Middleman 197 is going to make his way down the hill, 4/10 up on that time. So very much looking comfortable. And for him, Jordan Daly, this is going to be an interesting lap indeed. He's 9.2 seconds off from the pole sitting lap of the GT3, so he certainly wants to get himself up into a little bit closer to what the GT4s are lapping around at. And for him, it's looking good. Jordan Daly up now 7/10, almost finding a second on this lap time. Will drop him up the order, and that will be exactly what he needs. Very nice livery coming down here as well. That pink and black will go up and set himself a 151.642. Will slot in between Ornst and DuPont then, and going to be very happy with that.
Oh, look at this. Bart Macha slowing down, waiting. He didn't want to take Cheetah with a car right there, so he slowed way down to let that car get away, and now he's at full speed because he knows he's going to get 2 shots at this. This first one might not be enough simply because of tire temperature, but he's going to give it a shot, as he is going to have 2 laps in the 55 connection lost GT4 Cayman to get this done. Otherwise, the 20 will likely be on pole here, but don't count out that 56. He is not too far behind either.
Look, very, very close indeed, and they're certainly chasing down 200s to finally. Calio needs to try and find 2/10 himself. So right now, going through the exit of Sunset, 4 minutes left on the clock. He's going to be able to fire in the lap or 2 remainder, and that's about it for him. So for them, an hour and 30 minutes, I think, isn't too bad, knowing that you've got a lot of time to make up positions too. Quali, though, here, narrow track, very much pressure focused. You want to make sure that you're not caught up in too much chaos. You know, down towards the bottom of the order is not going to be the worst place to find things as the drivers go side by side into turn 2.
Yes, indeed. And by the way, Voigt is on a flying lap here, and this could move the bar even further in his favor. It looks good on paper, and he's going to come across the line, and I think he is going to reset quick lap for the class. In fact, he does, a 50.625, and that is the quickest lap of GT4. What can Bart Macha do for the rebuttal? Here he comes around the final corner. I don't know if this lap will have much for him, but in fact, it will not have anything. But he does have at least one more lap to try and get that done. But the gauntlet has been thrown down by the 20, and it is all Macha's for the taking right now. But I don't know if he can do it.
I mean, I don't know if it's for the taking. Bench is also still getting quicker on his lap times. He's up a 10th, going halfway into the circuit. Make that 2/10 on the exit out
How's he
through
doing
Clubhouse. Yeah, I mean, he's finding the rhythm, right? I mean, that's what it's all about here. He's kind of attacking a little bit later on the braking zones, just seeing how much more speed he can carry through, not scrubbing as much on the exits. A little bit deeper in, there's 2 lines out through here. Might have been using 1 line the previous time. Going to see what happens out. He has lost an extra 10th there. Make a mental note of that, Mike, as you go down into Mineshaft, the fast left-hander. A little bit of dirt being kicked up in front as he catches up to some traffic. Shouldn't be too much effort or issue for him. Again, just bouncing around, finds a little bit in the braking zone, loses it on the exit. Still stays a 10th up into the tricky right-hander. That's an extra 10th, giving him easy gain coming into Cheetah. Ingwe again.
Look at
That's another
this.
10th coming down. Bench is going mad at the moment. Oh, I think he's run too wide. I think he's invalidated that as he comes down over the line. Base one, 50.625, a 643 then goes over. So just at the line, does not get that in much then, like you said. Pressure makes diamonds, and this man's got diamonds that are colored with silver, black, and orange.
Well, he definitely lost it. He was up about 2/10 in the second sector, but he lost it coming down mine shaft in that area, and he did not improve on his time at all. And meanwhile, the 56 is running around here saying, hey, but what about me? I'm still in this. Yes, you are, son. But you are going to have to pick up the pace. In fact, he's actually going to wave the white flag here and reset. So he is going to be happy with his position, is the 56. He has bowed out. And here is the car. We haven't talked about Ertan, but Ertan is leading the silver class for GT4 and doing a good job of it, beating out the 30 and the 197 in the silver class. Probably would feel a bit safer, though, if he could get another 10th or so out of it on this lap.
Always going to squeeze an orange a little bit more, try and get a little bit mint juice. Ping Pong Racing is Ataberk Airtan's team name. Definitely a fan of that one. Ping Pong Racing. What are we doing? Are we playing ping pong or racing or ping pong? Fabian Schmidberger will definitely semi-appreciate the fact that I got his quote kind of right, but also that I kind of got it mostly wrong. But, shout out to our stewards, our entire stewarding team out there. Cam, Mike, Fabian, Nick, Tom, all, making sure that things go right. Jake, myself, and Jesse Lee bring you the action from the box as Quali wraps up. Who will start up the front for the GT4s? Looks like Bench pretty comfortable. He's sitting in the pit lane. Ertan going to chuck that lap out. Isn't going to benefit further off it much. Sitting in second place. Then Hilakalio third. Ertan fourth. Fifth for Daly. Sixth for Flammer DuPont. Then sitting in sixth, seventh for Scarf. Are they going to change it up before the end? We don't know. But for these guys, it's going to be a long hour and 30 minutes. And with a small field for them to drive around in, it's going to be plenty of
Flemger's on a flyer here, George. He is nearly up a second coming into Cheetah now. This is an amazing lap. If he's able to put this down for one more turn, the number 19 Pure Racing Evolution car is going to have a big bump in the standings for one of the final cars. Can he pull it off across the line? And in fact, he does. He jumps all the way up to 25th. Now, I know he only jumped 2 spots, but that was a massive lap.
I was expecting that guy to go pole by the end of that. Like, I feel like the timing sheet baited us again.
No, I don't think it. I don't think it baited us so much, but that was a massive
You,
improvement for him.
well, you baited me.
Let's
Just
not
to let
talk
you
about
know.
who's baiting who here, George.
You're 100% baiting. Like, you're baiting.
Well, folks, we hope that you're
You're,
enjoying.
I would even say you're the master at baiting, Jesse.
We hope that you've enjoyed qualifying here. Now we are going to have a 90-minute race. All 4 classes are going to be on display here, and all you need to know, there are no rules as long as you don't run afoul of the rules. The rules are race cleanly and don't go off of the track, and you'll be just fine. There are no mandatory pit stops, but they will have to pit at some point for both fuel and tires, we at least expect. But as we switch over to the race, here are the final positions for all of the classes as they finished up qualifying. Thank you all for joining us here on RCI TV for the Porsche Battle event at Kyalami. This is the pro split of this event. And like I said, we're glad to have you with us. We're also thankful to have all of our partners, Race Department, AK Informatica, Speed Labs, and Sim Racing GP, and of course Raceface, for everything that they do for us. And I don't know what to expect out of this race now. I expected qualifying to be a little bit closer in equal machinery, George. Why do you think it didn't work out that way?
You can't just throw me under the bus. I don't know. Like, maybe the drivers today have all not had a good, week at work, and they've, the stress has come out. They haven't been able to practice. Quali is quali, race is completely different. If you're struggling to get onto pace in quali, your race isn't going to be the way that you want it to go unless you're just aiming for consistency purely. But either way, getting caught up by other cars, not a fun place to be an hour and a half. If you are off the pace, it's going to be a struggle. So from my side, wishing our drivers all the luck. I think it's going to be complete chaos, but in like a positive chaotic way. Like there's such thing as positive chaos. I can hear you judging me, Jess. There is positive chaos.
No, you're absolutely right. And we want to talk about
As
some
always.
positive chaos.
Amen.
Mike Noble confirms he's racing in this race for fun, and he is attempting sort of a last to first challenge. He just wants to race some people. Also, he says his number one goal in this race is to bully Gergo Panker, and that's probably the most amusing thing I've heard in a while. But that's interesting. Of course, Mike will have that opportunity starting behind him. He is going to have to catch up to him, though.
I love it. Gogo also just saying that even though Mike tried, he still couldn't qualify last. Like
that's also shots fired on the grid. It's true.
Shots fired, just like compliments fired. Like it's like you can't even be bad. You still have.
Can you imagine being so good you can't even suck badly? That is Mike Noble's life.
Both of us aren't. We can't relate to that.
How do you? By the way, in the interest of transparency here at RCI TV, we have a brand new broadcaster with us, broadcasting his very first race with us, and I feel like he drew the short straw. But Jake Coombs is with us. He's the broadcaster. He's the one whispering in our ears here. How do you think he's enjoying this so far, George?
I mean, I think a whole bunch of Porsches on a grid at Kyalami, like you must be treated to know better, really, to come out and broadcast. So I think that Jake's going to enjoy it. I think he's going to enjoy hearing us get to do a bit of banter together for an hour and a half. Like, full disclosure, it's a late night Saturday stream. Prepare yourselves. I'm pantsless, Jesse. I mean, I'm excited.
And moving right along, 2.5 minutes till session start, and I am awkward.
That's not normally the reaction I get to things that I say like that to you. So hopefully I can get you to warm up towards the fun side of Porsche Cup racing, and of course the GT4s here, Pro Split, as well as the Silver Split here. I don't know if you've noticed in ACC the little weirdness that happens with the car rims, how they sometimes look like they're not tracking in the right direction on like replay views. It's super strange, and can kind of see it a little bit taking place on the grid.
Yeah,
Like
doing a little. They're doing a little
it's
little
a nervous
dance.
twitch. That's how I feel
Yeah,
when I go into the commentary box.
yeah. That is sort of. I never. I mean, I've seen it obviously, but I've never really paid attention to it. It's slightly unnerving whenever you see all of the cars doing that. Keep in mind, folks at home, this is a one-off race. I'm calling it a support race for the 24 next week. It's not a championship or
It
anything,
makes no
but
why. How is it even a support race?
well, so
Can't just
sometimes,
make up things like that.
listen, in NASCAR and V8 supercars in Australia,
Yeah, but I
they
mean,
often have support races well and truly in advance of the actual race. It is strange, I will admit, but
you call
that
race
is
tracks oval circuits. Like, I mean, I'm not sure if
well,
we can.
that's not. I mean, they are oval tracks, yes.
Yeah, and you call that racing.
I mean, it's the most competitive motorsport on the planet, George. I don't know what you want from me.
I mean, it's okay to be wrong and mislead the viewers, but
I'm
to do
just
it
saying,
to our
oval races are.
lovely RCI races. I mean, it's we don't have to get into this fight. Like, we have an hour and 30 minutes together. Like, let's not ruin a good time.
Oh dear. Well, all I know is somebody is going to have to stop the front row here, and I'm not entirely sure who that is going to be. But for one thing, Nick Babin and Diego Lima, they have the best chance of winning this race, and they have the fastest cars. And I think, considering their battle in qualifying, they may be locked into a battle on the track here. I also have never driven a Porsche around here for fear of how slippery it appears.
I mean, slippery and wet and tons of fun, but luckily no rain on the prediction to add to that here. Nice, bright, sunny day, and weatherman Simon giving us the all clear that we've got good, clean racing for at least the next 30 minutes in terms of the weather. 6:38 on the clock. Wind conditions completely dead still. So for the spectators out here, going to be quite a hot morning indeed. 28 degrees on the track, 28 degrees on the ambient indicator as well. Nick Babin for WPI lining up on that front row alongside Diego Lima, and adjustments being made, giving the inside line then to the pole sitter in recent patches. Originally, you were able to start on the inside, qualifying second. Was always quite nice to have the rundown into Crowthorne, but that's all been done away for. The incentive to qualify up in pole definitely still there. Mike Voigt bench, he was very much looking like he was going to continue to better his lap times if he was given any more time in the GT4s. Our GT4 pole sitter, very small class of GT4s, so round of applause for all those guys going out and pushing it to the limits. Very, very keen to see what happens. Look at this, what a sight. If you're a Porsche fan, this is what you want to see. Beautiful colors and the custom paint jobs that the drivers have set up. A whole variety. No one looking like anybody else, unless they're obviously rocking a team color, but very much unique individuality across the grid.
I mean, this is pretty much all you could ever really ask for. You got a ton of Porsche equipment from various disciplines, and you have a fantastic track. And I go on about Kyalami all the time. It's one of my favorite tracks. It's I definitely top 5 in the world, I think, for most people. It's just it creates such great racing. We've seen that here at RCI a bunch, and though our races we had yesterday in the Friday Championship didn't go quite as planned, they were definitely interesting, perhaps for the wrong reasons. But hopefully today, with equipment that doesn't always want to agree with you, hopefully they are a bit more forgiving, and hopefully we see some good racing here. I have no doubt that we will, as everybody continues to file through, trying to get their position. And now I know for the 24, anybody who gets a start violation for position will be cleared, and I'm not sure they're going to do that today. They might because I know they talked about it, but we're going to have to see. The starting procedure here is sometimes a bit wonky, and it gives you a penalty for seemingly no reason. And we know for the 24, we will be clearing all those penalties, and that was arranged yesterday. So, with that in consideration, and within consideration of who's in the box tonight, we'll have to play that by ear and see if we A, get any, and B, if they clear them, if they do. 2x2x2. As far as the eye can see, a ton of cars here, all Porsche manufacturers. The Porsche event at Kyalami is green, and Babin gets a fantastic start. Actually, he's going to lose out a little bit to Lima now. Going down into turn number 2, he has the appropriate position, but will he get pinned to the inside? Yes, he will, but then he's going to break free. Babin leading cleanly now over Lima.
Yeah, very nice start from Babin. Just gets that inside line. Needs to be careful that he doesn't lose out on the run through to barbecue. Now, looking on at the onboard footage from Lima, looks like Babin has done just what he needs to do. It will be Buchenfeld that slots in then behind them to take third here in the pro split for the GT3 Cup cars. A whole bunch of chaos going down behind him as you see Babin getting a little bit loose through Clubhouse. That's allowed Lima to close down. Now into the S's, does he apply the pressure enough so that he has a look up to the top of Leocorp? He is going to be hanging onto the back quarter panel of that Cup car in front of him. Lima now on the outside. Babin going to go for the inside. 2 lines to come through here. You can try and get a little bit of a switchback cut through, and that might be what Lima's trying to do. A lot of speed being carried at the top of the apex there from that orange number 93, but the pressure not going to be enough for Lima to get through.
No, it's absolutely not. Here he goes. He's going to try and go around the outside. That isn't going to work exactly, but certainly it looks like Tiama Lima, he has the pace. And look at this. He goes to the outside, to the inside. He's living La Vida Loca, but you don't want to go too wide through Cheetah. Does it anyway and gets the lead. Lima in the 93 Phoenix Racing Portugal Orange team has taken the lead on the opening lap here in grand style. An excellent pass maneuver there for Team Orange, and the new leader of the race, Babin, doesn't even get to lead a full circuit. What can he do now from the second position?
I mean, what Lima just did there just showed that there's so much more bravery coming out, and the risk potential that Lima was willing to take to just get into the lead. So incredibly important there to establish that dominance. WPI Motorsports and Nick Babin then having to chase down, not a place that you want to be. And the two of them definitely in a class of their own. Buchenfeld down the road from them, Felix, Panka, Eros, they're all fighting their own battles. But between Babin and Lima, I mean, they've certainly got their own kind of pace out here. Lima, what a move being sent up there on the inside through Cheetah. Very, very brave. And right now, looking like he's just going to keep gapping. We saw how quick he was coming through the S's, and he looks like he's continuing to extend that. Sousa, he is getting pressured out by Wojtek Ben. Oh, it's actually benched in the GT4. That's putting some pressure. Oh, through the chaos he goes. That's going to let Helicalio go through in the chaos. Bomb needs to be careful of not rejoining in the middle of the pack. Lets the cars go through. But complete chaos on the middle of the racing line then through Clubhouse. Catches a couple of cars off guard. As it does to bench, he has to yield. Helicalio was able to get through. And right now the 20 then needs to charge down.
I don't know who that was there in the silver Porsche that I assume turned Bombeek, but I'm pretty sure it was a 77 considering they're both falling down the order right now. But that's sort of a hazard that you run here. A lot of corners where you can get a run, a lot of corners where you can get in trouble too. Not the widest track. It has a lot of opportunity for overtaking, but it also has a lot of opportunity, perhaps the most in ACC, for incidents like that. And certainly that is something you typically see. Somebody who sticks their nose in there isn't quite in there quite yet, or the other driver doesn't see them, and then all of a sudden you have 2 cars that are backwards. The only fortunate part is it's a 90-minute race, and they don't really, considering they lived to tell the tale, won't have a ton of damage. So they'll be able to get the cars going back the correct way. And oh, by the way, the 56 has taken the lead in GT4 and Voigt Bench all over the back of him. What has happened to poor Bart Macha, I will not know, but he is he's what, fourth, actually fifth in line, but fourth in class now. So something has happened to the number 55 Connection Lost Racing Porsche.
Oh, definitely not what he wanted to have happen for him, but still a lot of time to be made up. We see likes of Mike Noble making his way through the field into P12 for him. Matt Samuel on the back end of Maravilla, and the number 100 then feeling a little bit of heat in front of him, Eros and Panka. Oh, side-by-side racing going to go. This is going to be side-by-side into Cheetah. Danger zone they go. And up the inside descent. Two places come through. The tap comes round. And one of the Porsches loses out into the back wall he goes. And that will be Maravilla. And that is an unfortunate circumstance. He looked a little bit loose coming out, made contact, and got sent around. He is going to get back going. But that will be the RM Red Line number 100. That did get affected out there, but the battle continues up front as Toth now getting onto the back of Matt Samuel. Samuel putting the pressure on and allowing Toth to get dragged through as well. Now will continue up. This is the Pro Tier then that leads out with the Silver Tier leaders behind them, Eberman and Sabo, as right now onto the exit through Barbecue. Toth goes a little bit wide, taking a little bit of curb, but keeping himself settled nonetheless. Look at the pressure coming out immediately across the rest of the field. Babin and Lima, these guys are just racing their own race. Like, you can't even see that there's another car in the race in the camera pans that we're getting at the moment.
No, you can, and we sort of saw that in qualifying, didn't we? These two separated themselves. Now, you could make an argument for Mike Noble that he would have been up here in this fray, perhaps number one qualifier as well, but he decided to give himself the extra expert challenge here tonight because it's a just for fun race. He has made his way into the 11th position. Keep in mind, he started down near 16th place, so he has made up 5 spots already. Go ahead and count it 10. So he has made up, 6 spots, and he's threatening to get even further inside the top 10. He actually has a little bit of room between him and Erdman in the 33, but he has made up a ton of spots. But Lima and Babin showing the way and showing that they are on their own race, might as well be on their own racetrack. But once again, traffic will come into play at some point, and how much will that affect these guys?
Mike Noble is going to catch up to our leaders with an hour and 22 minutes to go. I mean, he's just carving through the field.
George G. Max Smith with the prediction, Mike Noble is still going to win this race.
I mean, I didn't say win. I mean, you got a little bit too excited there.
You said catch up.
Catch up,
okay.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I don't think that if he doesn't, I think if he does catch up, then taking the win is going to be there. I mean, I have disgusting faith in Mike Noble when it comes to Porsche Cup cars. It's not even a blind faith. It's just that time and time again, I've done a lot of these events. That man can just deliver. So let's see where he does get through. He is making his way through. He is progressing. But what is important is the rest of the field as well. Lars here in the ERC Academy 227. He's got Gergo Panka putting some pressure on from behind him. He's got Felix in front that he needs to catch up to, but it's quite a couple of car lengths up the road from that. So it is going to be the sort of cork in the bottle situation, as you see a whole bunch of cars in the background getting into the same sort of situation. Fakete on the back of Kun Sabo here as the number 37 sees a little bit of dirt getting kicked up. Where does he try and brake? A little bit later, maybe into Crocodile. We know that some drivers making some run, going to put himself on the inside then. Twitchy putting some pressure on. No touch. Oh, that is clean. Nice driving. That's the stuff that gets me up in the morning and then puts me to bed at night. Both those kind of things are... Oh.
You know, in the States, we'd say you could...
Pay-per-view driving.
In America, we would say you could eat that off the floor. That was so clean, and that's exactly the kind of passing that we're looking for. That's not what Consabo wanted to see, though. He did not want to get past right there, but once again, here we go. Could we see this happen further down the field? No, we cannot, but still, that was an excellent pass. That's sort of what we expect out of these guys. Keep in mind, this is the top split. These are
Oh,
the best of the
Helikilio's
best of
gone
what
wide.
they're
He's made a
doing.
mistake. Bench is going to go
Got
on
sideways.
the inside, take the lead for the GT4s. Mistakes made from Helikilio. Bench snaps it up, and that's, again, you know, like you said, clean. Sometimes you don't even need clean. You just need to race your own race and let someone else make the mistake.
Indeed. Well, he's going to dive down to the inside. Is he going to get it wound up here in between there? No, he's not.
Cup car.
He's
That's a
gonna
cup
pass
car.
the
That's
leader.
a cup car. Listen.
Oh, that is a cup car.
Yeah, you're getting to you like that's the cup car coming to unlap himself. Way too impatient, and he's not taking out.
Well, I
the
mean,
lead in the
he's still.
GT4s.
That's unfortunate because he's still.
That's not cool. Nah.
Yeah, you can't do that.
But I mean,
that's,
no. No words. Bad driving, Bambeek. Not cool. Is team name better than Sheep? I don't know. Sheep wouldn't do this kind of thing, right? Like, hope the stewards look at that. Like, he's literally just taken out the GT4 leader.
Meanwhile,
Impatience.
Gergo Panker up inside the top 5 now in 5th place, threatening to take Buschenfeld for 4th place now. That car, the 778 Team Parker Racing car, looking very racy. Could he have a tasty little look down here into turn 1? He thinks about going left. He thinks about going right. He's going to get blocked to the left. Is Gergo Panker going to take that? No, he's not. He's going to slip down the inside of turn 2. There's undoubtedly going to be contact, like contact made, but no spin. That's expertly done. Buschenfeld blocked him into the grass, and he took it.
Yeah, Panker did the right thing, stayed on the brakes, even though that gap was closing down, minimized that contact that would have come out. I mean, that is very aware driving, allowing both of the drivers to go another day. That is an example of the sort of mindset that you need coming into these races. An hour and 18 minutes on the clock, you don't want to be losing out positions. Take the track battle somewhere else or over the back end. Getting the same treatment from Matt Samuel is the likes of Gergo Panker, so it is now a very difficult position for Buschenfeld. One mistake, you lose 4 car positions behind because they will slot themselves through. The 227 here holding up the pack. This is slowing down the chase down to Babin. It is allowing Noble to get closer and closer as well. He himself is just down into 9th place. He's going to start catching up to this pack of drivers. And once you're in that situation, getting through is just, I mean, he is catching this pack. This is him hanging on to the back end of it. So he's just going to be looking for a way through as quick as he can. Mike Noble in that FFS racing car in the perfect place. Perfect place.
Well, the penalties are coming in now, and if they were not all over each other, I would tell you about them. But this is a line of cars spanning all the way from 4th down to 9th place, as George Smith told you, and anything can happen. Let's see. Same song, different verse. Does Gergo take a look this time? Does Buschenfeld block him down the inside? No, he doesn't. Buschenfeld stays on the normal line. Panker down the inside of turn 2. There's going to be contact here again. A couple of light touches in the same result, though. No position gained or lost, as I think that's Mike Noble off in the background here, trying to make a pass for 8th place, as there is light contact there. Light contact isn't going to bother these cars too much here today, I don't think.
Can go a little bit closer, rubbing his way, racing sort of way. Definitely not to a point where you want to upset the other cars to position on track, but they can continue out. Not so dependent on the aero side. Mike Noble putting that pressure on Matcha then in the GT4s, leading out the GT4s. So he's made a comeback drive. Helicalio is certainly feeling a little bit of pressure. Bench, he's dropped down quite far. Not quite sure if what happened with him in that situation, as we see Bart Matcha is definitely leading the GT4 class. He's getting caught up by some of the GT3 Cup cars. That's going to be Mike Noble, the leader in the GT3s, slotting his way through. But Helicalio all over the back of Bart Matcha, trying to change up the order in the GT4s.
Yeah, that's interesting, because Bart Matcha was he was 5 spots behind Helicalio about 5 laps ago, and in 5 laps he has not only caught all the way back up, but he has taken the lead in GT4. We sort of expected that, to be honest, but that was a rapid response to being thrown down the order like he was. Meanwhile, Diego Lima now has a fairly decent lead, 2 seconds over Babin, And back in the field, Bushveld still leading Panker down into turn two, as finally a little bit of space for Lima. It becomes about gap management now for the Portuguese driver. Hopefully he can hang on for an hour and 15 minutes. It's all about pace and rhythm for this young man here. And of course, he's got to be able to work traffic as well. Remember, this battle, well, it is still going on. The 227 still leads the 778 and a literal train of Porsches. I feel like this is your best day ever, George.
It really is my best day ever. A little bit chaotic because Buchenfeld playing that long game for himself, which is also like a weird short-term game, because the short term here is that he defends really hard, and the long term is that it kind of doesn't work out for him once everybody catches up. Matt Samuel with the drifty boy on the outside. That's going to be off the track, in fact, and Team Parker Racing going to lose out those positions.
Drift, but pretty sure he would have preferred not to at that particular moment.
I think so, indeed. So he's going to rejoin the racing circuit, going to lose out some positions that he wasn't too happy about. Again, off track coming down into Crocodile. But it is positions being made up. GT3 cars just making their way past the traffic of the GT4s. Lars Buchenfeld continues the defense. Pank on the inside. This is the right place. So, no, he's got this perfectly done. I think that eventually Buchenfeld realized that, he is going to destroy his own tires, overly defending against drivers that are clearly catching up and finding the distance. So maybe just going to settle himself back in, see where the race progresses from that point. Eros, Tarth, Noble are all still in this and still going to be wanting to get through. Look at Mike Noble just carrying 10s, putting the pressure on into the UXK sweep, caught up in the midst of the pack. And he said he wanted some good racing, and he's been given that himself. He's having a lovely little mid-pack little follow-through train at this point in the race.
Well, Mike Noble's surely not used to being in the middle of a pack like that, and that perhaps is the most dangerous thing for Noble, is the fact that he is going to have to pass all of those cars, and the fact that all those cars are so close to one another, he's going to have to pick his way through there as neatly as possible, because one false move and then all of a sudden all of your progress is reset. And now, as we finally have a minute to catch our breath, I will tell you about the penalties. Of course, this event live stewarded thanks to all of those guys and potentially gals that step in to make sure the races ran fairly and efficiently. 5-second penalty for car 77, collision with the 103. 15-second penalty for number 14 for collision with the 77. Both of those are on the second lap. 15-second penalty for number 33 for a three-way collision with the 32 and the 215 for a crash in the hairpin on the first lap. And a 15-second penalty for car 32 for collision in the hairpin on the first lap with car number 10. An additional 5-second penalty was just issued to the 103 for a collision with the 20 on lap 2, and the couple other incidents were racing incidents and no further action. So that's all the penalties that you see on your screen at home, and that's where they came from. So it looked pretty clean from our perspective, George Smith, but clearly some tidying up still needed to be done.
I mean, we don't have a million eyes and the ability to go back things in slow motion. We get maybe at best one attempt to sometimes see things. So good to have the team involved that helps out making sure that the races run smoothly. ESP Helicalio also just putting on some really nice pressure then onto Matcha and just making sure that the two of them stay dragged along. In the background of that bench, the man who had a really nice qualifying lap then comes through and finds himself just a little bit off the pace of Helicalio and Matcha at this point in the race. But of course, with the time that goes on here, Jesse, recovering up after a spin that you've made, you now know that you had the potential to be up there. You're waiting and maybe hoping that somebody else makes a mistake. You still got to check there to get through too. So you're kind of planning your pit stops. You know that everybody's going to make a pit stop. Maybe you risk not taking tires and lose yourself in the moment because you want to save yourself 30 seconds. You could lose the race after that, but no mandatory requirements here for what they need to do in the pit. So I suppose that's going to be something that people are starting to plan at this phase. I would be kind of thinking about that now. Caught up in the pack. How can I get the advantage?
Ooh.
What?
I'm sorry. The
I know.
37 was going straight for the wall, and at the
You get
last
so
possible
excited
moment.
when people are about to die. Like I'm genuinely
That's
concerned. A lot of
George.
the
I
time.
wouldn't put it like that if I were
It
you.
is
That's not
like
what-
that.
Mike
It is how it
Noble fighting
is.
for the 5th place. He's made it through this pack now and is clear. His next person that he's going to have to pass, he's going to have to catch up to Gergo Panker, who is now about 3.5 seconds up the road. But well done, nice and tidy for Mike Noble, getting through
Just
that
clearing
pack.
clearing the traffic.
Absolutely. You got to
Beautiful.
remember, Mike Noble started 16th on the grid, the position that Decker in the 38 is currently in. So that's where Noble started, and in 20 minutes, he is already in the top 5. He has some work to do. He's 20-plus seconds out of the lead of Lima right now, but like George said, he thinks it's doable, and I'm inclined to agree. I think it's doable. He's just going to have to continue to be methodical like he has been, and he
An
might
hour
be
and
in
9
a shot
minutes.
to win.
It's good. It's like at that point now where I'm not a betting man, but I'm buying Bitcoin. Like this man, Mike Noble, needs to go through Lima. We're not going to discount what the man from Portugal has got. He's throwing down some decent lap times. Babin has been unable to answer back for a while, right? Caught up in a bit of traffic. He's losing time. It all works out for Noble. If Lima makes a mistake, then Babin catches up. That's even better for Noble. But at where it stands now, lap time wise, looking good for Noble.
Never forget, it is a double Portuguese podium right now. Andre Felix in the 88 Phoenix Racing Portugal team is in the 3rd position, and we know that the Portuguese fans here have shown out in the chat cheering on their drivers from Phoenix Racing, and they're doing an excellent job right now. Gergo again trying to catch up to this man Andre Felix, and Mike Noble trying to catch up to the lot of them. In fact, you can see them in the background. There is Gergo Panker. Mike Noble was able to eke out nearly an entire second just in one lap. And speaking of Mike Noble, there he is getting around the GT4 really quickly, but you got to watch out for that. One spin resets all of your progress. It's risk versus reward, you'd have to think.
Yeah, just at this phase, there's just no point in risking it to that point. You're not going to gain. And just taking it nice, cool, calm, and collected is the most ideal way to be approaching it at this stage. So big shout out to all our viewers for joining us for a little bit of Porsche madness. So good to be here at Kyalami. We see Fakita and Samuel going side by side. Samuel trying to get his way through, going to put on some pressure. A little switchback coming around. That number 37 costing him a lot of time in the defending of that position. Matt Samuel, a little nudge on the back, catches up to them both and running wide. Inside line opens up. Samuel going to slide past there. Oh, what's up, my bruh? Take that. Robbed him blind. Left him to file a police report and continues going about his way. Like that was very steezy from Matt Samuel. You could see both of them they weren't happy, right? It's like Samuel was diving down through mineshaft, left, right. A little tap comes down and
big crash.
You see what I'm saying? How excited you get when people die.
Yeah, but he's on the racing line, and that's the scariest part, though. Chris Corbin having to get the car restarted and going the right direction. Massive crash. Could have been contact there. It didn't quite see that part of it. But anytime out the final corner here, whenever somebody goes towards that wall, that scares me because it always wants to shoot them back into the race. No, losing it by himself pretty much. Just overcorrected, and this is what I'm talking about. You hit a wall right there, and it shoots you back in the racing line, and it's so hard to avoid somebody who's stranded there. But the 101 gets it going. Massive damage. Will surely have to figure that out in his pit stop. But George, to your point, yeah, now's the time. We're 30 minutes into this race, near enough. You have to start thinking about your strategy. You have to think about, when am I going to pit? What am I going to do? Obviously, most people are just going to take tires and fuel, but if you have a second or two of damage, do you fix it? Is that something you would even consider? I think for a lot of these front runners, probably not. But if you're in the middle of the pack, you probably would consider that. But also the big question, when do I come in?
Yeah, I think all of those questions are individual questions themselves. I think the when to come in is certainly at a point where if you're getting held up by someone on track or you're losing time defending unnecessarily, coming in, getting yourself some fresh air, not going to be a bad thing. So at that point, you know, you kind of, each person has their individuality. The risk of not taking tires in an hour and 30-minute race, I must be honest, I haven't raced GT4s or Cup cars to see what they do on tires or what the risk is, but not having traction control for sure in the GT3 Cup cars cannot be fun on old tires. I think it's not just about lap time that you lose, but the potential of just losing the car entirely, picking up damage that it's going to put you off the track. There's another loop around from the Cup car boys, starting to struggle it out, and a lot of people going to be advancing through. 5th place then for Noble. He's catching up to Panka slowly but surely. This man is going to be feeling the pressure coming out shortly as he keeps looking at his timing sheet, sees the next man behind him is Noble. Of course, the two of them, a little bit of pre-race banter between them, always good to see. And Mike Noble now on the hunt for the 778 here, Jesse Lee. How many laps are we calling here until Mike Noble's on the back end?
1.5, because I've been doing the maths, and he's about, based on his current pace, he's about 1.5 laps for being right on the back bumper of Gergo Panker's 778. And you mentioned that there was some pre-race banter, and I had actually already forgotten about that. But Mike Noble said specifically whenever Gergo Panker was talking trash, yeah, I started back here so I could come up there and rough you up. And that's a joke, of course. Matt Samuel off again.
Ooh,
he's going to get his car restarted.
Coming up to the top of Lucorp, that is a weird place to... This man has been doing lawn mowing services on the side, and that feels like something is disconnected. Like your pedals are no longer talking to your hands, and your hands are no longer talking to your...
I have to agree with you, George. I think that's mechanical there, because there's no reason you'd sit there for that long. Something has fouled up with his electronics, but he did get it going again. Oh wait, no, is this no, it's not live pictures. I was gonna say, it's like I thought I saw it get moving. But yeah, that was indeed the replay. He did get that going, but it's not gone his way, has it, for Matt Samuel? It's he even after his lawn mowing experience earlier, he had gained position, but
Gergo getting drifty.
Indeed, he's getting all sorts of sideways. By the way, Gergo Panker has caught Andre Felix.
That's incredible. I mean, starting to pick up the pace. Felix, look at him.
He didn't have a choice. He knew who was behind him.
I mean, they're going to be pushing each other indeed. Over 1.5 seconds, you can see this going down. Felix is not going to be happy about seeing what's in the rearview mirror. Panka under attack. Noble on the charge. Diego Lima still leads out at the front. And with an hour to go on the clock, there are some names here that want to take a different stance and take the win. Thank you to everybody for joining us here for the Porsche battle at Kyalami, the pro split. Of course, commentary from myself, George Smith, and Jesse Lee, and the live pictures being produced out by Jake Coombs. So good to be here with you guys. If you are feeling generous, leave a little like. Help us get to our 69 likes. It's mandatory that we get 69 internet likes, just because they're cool. Tough, his livery looking ultra cool too. And if 69 likes was not just because we asked for it, then give it to us for the cool liveries that everybody else is running. And Jesse Lee, he wants the likes too. Likes give us, like, they actually pay the bills and help us to enjoy like minimal meals, like once or twice a week.
Yeah, you think he's joking, but likes are important, and I'm a big fan of 69 as the GT4 class continuing to race each other here. This is the silver battle. The leaders in GT4. Ernst is the leader for GT4 silver. Keep in mind, 4 different races going on at the same time. And Ernst beating Ertan out there. Ertan has that 15-second penalty for the spin, or the collision, I should say. I'm not sure there was a spin involved, but a collision nonetheless. He'll have to serve that on his pit stop.
Not cool to get time penalties, that's for sure. That's going to change up the way that things go down for sure. I mean, for a lot of drivers here, it's going to be looking back at those penalties and going, well, 15 seconds actually cost me a lot looking at the field here. So as we see the battles continue, three-way battle that was taking place up the front, of course, is still going to continue. This little battle that's going down is a little bit of a midst of madness. Noble all over the back into Panker. Panker on the back of Felix. And now this is a go zone. Onto the splitter can we go. Mike Noble. He's just
Game
kind
on.
of, I can only feel like this is one of those cases where you play with your food a little bit before you eat it. Mike Noble.
Oh dear.
Going to just have a little bit of a play before he gobbles these guys up, and then makes his way up to try and catch Babin and Lima. These guys pushing to the limits. Felix having to all the corrections he's made are going to cost him down the run towards the right-hander of Sunset. Look at Mike Noble making sure that Panker sees him in not only the rear view mirror, but also the side mirrors too, putting his car left and right all around, making sure that he's very much aware of where this number 1, 2, 3 is coming in. Love watching onboards and love watching Mike Noble drive. Sounds like I'm a bit of a fanboy, but real story is he actually pays me $69 a month. Get us to 69 likes on our live stream, and we'll do more of these Porsche Cup races, to be honest.
Well, I don't know why Mike Noble doesn't drive the 69 at this point, but this is a lovely camera view Jake's giving us here of the in-car from Mike Noble, looking forward at Gergo Panker, and he's being very gentle with him so far. No lunges or leaps from Noble at the moment. But one thing is for sure, I think Noble has a bit more pace. And oh, by the way, Felix is right in front of them as well. This three-way battle for the final step of the podium. Any one of these drivers can get it. I wonder if a little bit Mike is waiting for Panker to make the move so he can just follow him through, and so he doesn't have to do anything. Very, very smart move. And earlier you were saying, talking about Noble getting into the mirrors, that's something they teach you in racing. They teach you to get in the other guys' mirrors, get into their heads,
the
and that sort of
mistake.
thing.
There we go. Felix
and he
is
wiggled
wide.
too. Mike Noble wiggled too.
The width, the track width being used up is the inside. Oh, very, very dangerous place for Felix.
Hold
He's
your breath
leaving
moment.
up the inside lines on the apex as Panker is going to look into taking advantage of this. Very deep, late onto the brakes goes Felix. Mike Noble is just hanging and waiting to see what happens in front. He wants to make sure that he doesn't. Oh, big drift in front. That's a mistake from Felix. He's made a big drift. He's going to lose time. Panker's going to put it on the inside of the S's. That's another drift going to come out from Felix. He's late, but he defends. He somehow manages to snap back with that 88. He stays ahead. Panker now with a mirror full of Noble. Noble trying to go around the outside. This is where Noble could actually make a cutback pass for 2 places down to Mineshaft. Needs to just time it right. Lets them set up their own move and takes that alternative line at the top of Leocorp. Not going to be this time around, but the opportunity is going to be there for the FFS Racing number 1, 2, 3. Brilliant racing coming out from these 3.
Yeah, they're being very, very gentlemanly and very clean about it. And I just I laughed when you said that. But A Mirror Full of Nobles sounds like one of those romance novels you buy at the airport. But
I thought you were going to say on my bookshelf. Like, I don't know, you're going to have to buy the ones that are still there.
Listen, I've not been to your house before. I don't know what you have on your.
Don't lie to the live viewers.
Already.
You paid the premium subscription. You got an invite over. And
well, we are going to move swiftly on from that three-way battle for third place here. Lima still leading. He's leading by 4 seconds over Babin now. He has a very healthy gap. Does your leader? There he is right there. And there is Babin in the background. So nothing going on up there. The battle clearly with third place here. And here is Babin, of course. He's just kind of hanging out here. He is losing time. He's not losing time hand over fist, though, but he is just losing a tiny bit at a time. And, of course, Felix is in third, and he is in the hot seat as more GT4 traffic as they're all doing a really good job of working the GT4 traffic, as well as everybody but Felix that time basically exits the circuit pretty much. And that's what you get. You try and get everything you can out of these cars. Any little advantage in a car that is dead even, nothing separating them. There's no difference in power or tires or anything here. So every little bit you get extra is all generated by the as I refer to it, the pink squishy bit with the wheel in its hand. And that is the only difference here. And there is no difference between these three drivers right now. And let's hope it stays this clean between these guys.
I mean, it's been clean so far. I don't want to give them that that bad luck, bad juju that's come down. But Felix holding off Panka, who holds off Noble, has just been such a cool little fight to see that down. Very nice and clean and tidy. No penalties to these drivers' names, so not going to be decided out just by the pit stop. But Noble, I feel like, will always be in an advantageous position here. We've seen it in other GT3 races that we've done. You've got an advantage reading and you're forcing the other car, but he might even try and take that advantage as early as he can. Later on the brakes, perhaps on the inside line, Panka going to leave it open for him here. Knows that there's no point in fighting off Noble. If he wants to get past Felix, he needs to let Noble through and let Noble do what he wants to do in front. Panka can take his own battle back to Felix without having to worry about the pressure from behind. And I think that's smart driving with 54 minutes left on the clock.
Yeah, absolutely not a terrible idea at all. It's actually very smart that he came up with that. Just let Noble do Noble things, and maybe you can squeeze by. Gergo caught Felix, so why not? Why wouldn't he be able to pass him? Just let him open up the lane and potentially benefit off of that yourself there. As we go back further in the field here, the battle for the GT4 silver lead here. Are we changing hands again? I don't think so. I think that's another car going through there is what that was.
Oof, I mean, Helicalio and Bench then going to just take their own little fight out, letting Matcha do what he needs to do it in front. The GT4s just having a bit of a casual race. This is an interesting place. Bench on the outside, going to set himself up for the inside. I mean, I love this. This is the perfect place. Look, sets himself up for the inside of Clubhouse. I am 100%. I can't use that word on a live stream, but like I've got goosebumps.
Oh Jesus, I can see what he's talking about. But yeah, I never really get used to seeing cars go too wide through sunset like that. Or especially when they make it, you always expect one car to get sent. But no, they gave each other ample room there, and they're able to continue their battles. Very pretty, almost like ballet when you get that particular move to come off right. Meanwhile, Mike Noble has dispatched
just described their
Felix.
Driving like ballet.
I mean, that is sort of what it is.
Ballet.
Mike Noble has gotten through into the third spot, nearly 30, actually is more than 30 seconds behind your race leader with 52 minutes to go. And time for me to get the calculator out and start playing the game. But as for now, Gergo Panker has also got around Felix. So Felix, the big loser here, he has went from third to fifth as Gergo's plan did in fact work. He wanted around Felix, I should say. And well, he got it. So there you go. Gergo back up to fourth, and Mike Noble disappearing into the distance already into third.
Yep, I mean, it was almost too good to be true, seeing him down the back of the order, and he has had a great little through the field journey himself. Very clean, hasn't picked up any incidents, and he's just been very patiently waiting where he needs to. I feel like we've seen a lot of good behavior from the GT3 Cup cars on these GT4s. A little bit of bad behavior coming up, but that always gets punished out when our stewards look into it. So massive shout out to that entire squad making the calls down for the live stewarding. Igor Ortst here, currently sitting in 22nd overall. Ertan in front of him with that time penalty. That's going to put him behind him, regardless of where they come out on track. If you can get past before that, that's even better. Put the guy further behind you. But it is Matcha that leads the GT4s by 6.8 seconds, which is pretty massive for him. Helicalio is going to continue to fight out with Bench. That cost them hard. Bouchel is then going side by side with Tough, I believe. That 215 on the inside. Backwards and forwards, they swap over positions, trying to get the inside line as well. I think that might actually be Maravilla as well that is next to him. It's Ricardo, the man from RM Redline, who had a spin. You see, JC gets excited as well.
I get
excited
every time, George. I get scared that car is going to lose it and come back onto the racetrack every time. Yeah, see, this is what I'm talking about right here. He's already lost it at this point, and then right here, when you try to get back on the throttle, I'm always afraid that car is not going to hook up and grip, and it's going to come back. But of course, that did not happen in that instance, and it's basically race on. You get away with that kind of move.
The replay is not as cool without the sounds of you birthing a porcupine when the guy's trying to like get control of the car. JC, like a porcupine.
Am I Sonic's dad? Oh wait, that's a hedgehog. I've just realized. Yeah. That's a hedgehog.
You've just outed yourself as like the worst nerd on the internet in front of the viewers.
I play video games sometimes.
Blame Jesse Lee. Blame Jesse Lee in the chats. Esprit Helicalio. He certainly doesn't need no blame. He just needs a little bit of motivation to catch back up to Bench. 2 car lengths behind, certainly in a space to do so. Cars behind him all with time penalties. So, right now, put your head down. Keep an eye on the prize, but Matcha doing just that. Just playing a little bit of Hot Lap Simulator out here. And enjoying his time at that. He's improving his time, 7.3 seconds then to Bench. As Bench and Helicaro continue to just cost themselves any opportunity of catching the leader here in the GT4s.
Well, I have been handed more slips of paper by Cameron DeBastos, and that can only mean one thing. Either dinner is ready, which isn't the case here, or they are handing out penalties, and I'm afraid to say that it is that, as goes off into the grass here again, is going to try and slip back in position, and does before they get the sunset. 103 was given a 15-second penalty for a collision with the number 19, a 5-second penalty for car number 5 for a collision with the 227, 15-second penalty for the 38 for a collision with the 53, warning for car 37 for something that wasn't reported. Probably for contact or unsafe driving. Same thing for the number 20, a warning given out, and a 5-second penalty given to the 30 car for an incident involving the 104. And that's all of the incidents up to that point. Well, this has been an interesting race to this point as we creep ever closer to the halfway point, and some of the leaders have elected to come in. Nick Babin into pit road, pitting from second position now. Should be a standard pit stop. You can make it from here, well within the limits. Andre Felix has brought his car in. He dropped down to 5th place. He'll be looking for some adjustments, new tires, and a full tank of racing fuel, as the pit stops have well and truly started here, bringing in 2 of the top 5. Not a lot of other drivers coming in yet. I find that peculiar. Normally the front runners aren't the ones that come in first. As a gaggle of cars attempt to go through turn 2 here, you got to be careful about this, specifically because whenever you get 3 wide here, it can get a little bit crazy with cars coming out of pit road, and that is exactly what happened there. But fortunately, a lot cleaner than it was a day ago here in the GT3 World Championship race that we did here on RCI TV, and they all get it sorted with minor bumps. Now, the pit stops up front continuing. I just saw another car or two dip down into pit road. Didn't quite catch the number as they went through, though. But yes, indeed, it is the leader. Diego Lima is into pit road. Probably standard stop here, I would assume. Fuel and tires to get him to the finish. He has a decent size lead. Now pay attention. Babin was 4.5 to 5 seconds adrift of your leader prior to this stop, and we're going to see how that works out. Mike Noble's not pitting yet. We'll have to see how deep he goes into the race before he does that. Here is Nick Babin, who is chasing the leader at this time. Oh, and this is really close. Always hate to go side by side through Crocodile, but they get it done. But like I said, whenever all this sorts out, a car going way off into the dirt there, and that is not where you want to get stuck. That is way off in Cheetah.
It's actually the Porsche hospitality suites out that side.
Oh, is that it?
Park his car. Legitimately, it's where the Porsche stands and the hospitality area is. So ironically, he's gone for a bit of an adventure back home, and it's going to cost him some time. Nick Babin, like you said, just trying to make his way through the field as cleanly as he can at this point. Mike Noble being out at the front, I think that's interesting. I want to see what that man does with his pit stop strategy. I feel like if anyone's going to try and push the limits, that might be someone that does, to see just how it will pay off for him. I think his pit stop needs to go very cleanly for him to be in an advantage, to be able to obviously make this a last to first challenge. Almost second last in class, but he tried his best to qualify last. Was not going to be the case. Massolini here.
Can I bring up something interesting?
Tell me. Is it
I told you that Babin was about 4 to 5 seconds behind Lima. Babin's pit stop was 4 seconds quicker than leader Diego Lima's. So that should put him right up back behind Lima now.
Lima and Babin then. A couple of car lengths between them. You see Babin in the background. So certainly going to be interesting to see just how the two of them progress. I do want to see what Noble and Panka decide to do in this. I think once you've cleared it and you've got yourself into a bit of a rhythm, you're used to what the car's nuances is or are, you'll be able to then adapt yourself to whatever the situation is. And if you are a driver that can get used to things and not have it affect you too much, some people get a lot into the head. As soon as they start to feel like tires are disappearing, it often is, maybe 3 or 4 laps of needing to do that before you can kind of get used to what you need to do and you can get some stability back. But if it's in your head the entire time that things are gone, you're fighting a downhill battle. It's just running away from you, and you're not going to be able to focus on what you need to do. So it all comes down to how you manage that, how that time that you're losing comes down. And I suppose the theory craft behind it is, you could always time your pit stop for midway through the stint, so you've got equal amounts of grip for the start and the finish. The later you go, you're obviously going to have fresher tires for longer, but maybe not get the advantage of having the tire switch for the longest period of time, whilst going a little bit cautious on the older sets.
I mean, to your point, George, I have always enjoyed having somebody in my ear, especially near the end of a run, tell me what my times are relative to those that I'm racing. It always makes me feel better, because you're absolutely right. It's the same thing. You get towards the end of a run and all of a sudden your tires are worn out a little bit and you're running slower and you feel like you're sloppy and you're all over the place, but you can still be on the pace and you get into your own head a little bit. So it always helps to have somebody tell you. And some of these teams will have that here today. Of course, a couple of team cars running, and I'm sure a lot of them are getting input from friends of theirs, and that helps. That always helped me to know as Toth comes in pitting, he will do his stop as well. And by the way, I was looking earlier at the times between Lima and Babin. They should have been dead even, and I was curious how there was a 2-second gap between the two of them, and I looked it up. Babin got stuck behind traffic on his first flying lap after his pit stop. He ran a 46. Lima on his first flying lap ran a 44. So that's where that 2-second gap came from. Otherwise, they would have been nose to tail. So traffic catching Babin on one of his first outlaps, and that was all that was in it. And now Lima afforded a 2.5-second gap that shouldn't have been there.
Just got to kind of let that all pan out and see exactly where that leads you with 40 minutes to go in the race, right? It's all about now, you could have trailed off on pace early on, and it's all about now just making sure that you don't lose all the hard work that you've made. It's a long concentration stint, a 90-minute race. A lot of the drivers are used to, hour-long races. An extra 30 minutes on that does certainly add an element of difficulty. You're in a car that is unforgiving. If you are in the Cup car, the GT4 is obviously a little bit more stable, but you're permanently fighting out on track, so anything can happen, anything can upset things. With these guys in the Cup cars, I mean, you're pushing too much of that accelerator pedal on a part of the track where you are losing a bit of traction on the back end. So easy to loop around. Just got to make sure that you don't throw away advantage given, as Matt Samuel takes that position off the 104. He goes into the pits. Kun Sabo will pit, and of course that is the leader for the silver class, who will go into the pits there. Might be out of position compared to Eberman and the car, but Bart Matcha, the man that leads GT4s, he certainly just he's making up time and position. He's taking position over GT3s. As you see, Bambeek gonna come back and try and just get his way through here safely. Matcha just keeping himself nice and predictable into Crocodile. Gonna leave the space for the Cup car to get past before they go in for Cheetah. And number 55 slots in perfectly.
Yeah, I think that was a little bit off the racetrack there. I'm curious if that will trigger the ACC track limits warning. Of course, you only get 3 of those before you get assessed a 15-second penalty. So, or excuse me, a drive-through penalty. So I'd be worried about doing that to make that pass or gain position. Of course, you don't want to be stuck behind a GT4 when you're in a different class as well. As here's Eros into pit road. I talked to you earlier about how he had a 5-second penalty for contact. He'll have to serve that on the stop. So his time in pit road will be an extra 5 seconds on whatever else he is getting done. And that will drop him right down the order a bit. Got to give a credit to Matt Samuel. Remember early in this race, Matt Samuel was mowing the grass. He drifted. He was backwards. He had to stop and do something to his sim rig, and here he is. I don't know if he's actually, I could probably check, see if he's pitted or not. So yes, he has not pitted. That's why he is in 8th place. I was just going to say, it's like that'd be a heck of a recovery had he pitted, but the 996 Team Parker Racing Porsche has not been in pit road yet.
Definitely going to lose out some of those positions when he does have to go in. Again, Gamble going to be out onto what he needs to do in the pit lane to best his advantage. Gigo Panka also yet to go into the pits. Currently doing 1:45.4s as his last lap time. 4/10 off the pace of the likes of Noble, who is just putting in some crazy last laps. 1:43 still coming down from Thiago Lima, which is quite quick considering he's got the newer tires. Babin also going to have the newer tires, so Noble is losing time to the likes of Lima and Babin, but he might be trying to do this entire race just on a single set of tires, go in for a bit of a splash and dash to make sure that he can get to the line, but he might be trying for himself to see just how far he can go on this set of tires. But it's certainly an interesting race and a strategy coming out from the late entry, and good to see him just still out here pushing the limits. Could have gone in for a safe pit stop, I believe, quite a couple of laps earlier, but really extending that overcut at this point.
Yeah, he is. It's sort of baffling when you think about it, why he hasn't pitted and why he's losing the time. But again, he's out here to have fun. He stated that very clearly, and he's doing his own strategy. He's out here trying stuff, and well, that's part of what makes Mike Noble so interesting to watch on the racetrack is he's always trying something, and he is in the lead currently, but we assume anyway, he will need to pit at some point, and you may be right. He may be splashing and dashing and not changing tires because there is no pit requirement here, folks. The only reason you'd have to pit is that if you could not make it on your tires and your fuel. So with no mandatory stop, if he can nurse those tires for 90 minutes, which would be a big ask, but not impossible, I don't think. Or though maybe it's impossible. I don't know because again, I told you guys at the top of the show, I've never raced the Porsche Cup car or the GT4 Cayman here at Kyalami.
Yeah, I've done a little bit of driving in them, not really too much competitive racing, but they're not going to be easy cars through that stint to drive. I think it kind of shows from the entry list that it's only the brave that really wanted to sign up to attempt this, and looking forward to seeing just how things round out. 35 minutes on the clock, a little bit loose coming out there from one of those Porsches on the exit. Number 10, though, of Hughes stays himself ahead. It was Atakan Akar who looked a little bit loose out of Ingwe, but he's also got a bit of damage done to the front end, a little bit of anti-aero going on his Cup car. So very visible damage coming down, but certainly still trying to hold on. A couple of drivers obviously shifting up positions after serving up those pit stop penalties that were applied from the stewards. Other drivers picking up some additional penalties afterwards, which will be added onto their post-race time. They're going to be looking at those gaps and trying to put as much daytime between themselves and the cars behind them. Mike Noble, our current leader in that 1-2-3, continues out. Last lap time that he did a 1:45.8, so the 1:45s are certainly there. Thiago Lima 1:44.6, so he's also getting caught up in a little bit of traffic as he tries to find himself that rhythm to catch up to Noble. Noble just racing his own race, hasn't had to deal with any pressure from anybody else in doing this with his pit stop strategy, so that's given him some nice clean air. Will be interested to see what happens when he does decide to eventually pit. I feel like it's going to be a late overcut, but regardless, will be interesting to see. We'll be able to see how long he stops for. Lima's pit stop, that 1 minute and 4 seconds, quite on the mark with a lot of drivers. Some guys 1 minute 10s, 1:25s. Obviously, different pit stop strategies for different repairs needing to take place to their cars.
Yeah, indeed. That's what you look at the times and you expect, about what time they're going to be. But you can also determine if you know there's a healthy car that just had routine pit stop service, you can kind of determine what was going on with some of the other cars. So if you see a car that's 5, 10, 15, intervals of 5, typically you kind of get the idea of they had this amount of damage, or at least that's sort of what you play in your head. I'll be honest with you. I don't understand the Mike Noble strategy because I've been sitting here with a pad and paper and I've been doing the math as you would expect me to do. And it doesn't make sense. And it was right around that point that I realized, oh yeah, it's Mike Noble. It's not going to make sense. He's doing something that is contrarian. So I've given up. Actually, I've put the pad and the paper away.
Does it make me sad to see you stopping doing the maths? The number crunching that you do sometimes does my head in. I can't quite.
Mike Noble killed the math.
Mike Noble killed the math, but he has caught himself up to some traffic. That's P16 in front of him. That will be Bombeek, and then it will be a car and Hughes as well. So they're going to be getting the blue flags. Mike Noble up on the inside space, given from the 103, lets the leader through. And this is also going to be on a single tank of fuel from Mike Noble. So it would be interesting to see if he's maybe doing a little bit of fuel saving as well.
It's been a lot cleaner this past 30 minutes, wouldn't you say, George? Not a whole lot of contact, a lot of good racing, hard racing, and a lot of way being given by the GT4s here. You like to see that in a race like this.
Yeah, I gotta be respectful for the other car classes that are out on track. It takes two to tango, and when you are doing multi-class, multi-division, you do need to just be aware that you might be in the same car, but then not in the same class, and then there's no point in doing that in a championship that's counted individually. with no overall point counting. So yeah, it's all about just keeping your head on your shoulders, making sure you make the right decision. Babin looking a little bit uncomfortable there on the midsection of Sunset. Does manage to catch it before it becomes a tank slapper. The pressure continues out. Lima stays up 1.6 seconds ahead of Babin as they go through the S's. Feels like Lima needs to start to really put that pressure on. If he's just capitalizing off of having to go in for a stop, a lot of time to be made up.
Do you want to hear something crazy? Not only is Gergo Panker and Mike Noble not pitted up in front of this field, he's actually being caught is Mike Noble by Gergo Panker. Panker actually just ran his fastest lap of the race that last time by, and it was nearly a second quicker than Noble's lap that he ran.
But this is why I think that Noble to me is lifting to save fuel and trying to do a little bit of a fuel saving map for himself, because like although him and Panker should be on the same tire levels, I think that Noble is trying to really get advantage when it comes down to the fuel side of things. So I think tires, yes, are going, but I think he's also trying to maximize the ability to save fuel and see where he's going to come out later on in this race.
Well, I've been told by Killian Ryan Meenan, who was on track here earlier this evening for qualifying for the RCI 24 of Kyalami event this coming Saturday. He says that it is possible to single tank this entire race.
That's definitely interesting. Oh, Noble just going to take the inside line there as he goes through the traffic. That is interesting. But then maybe that is exactly what Mike Noble's doing.
Yeah, I think you nailed it, George, the first time. I think he's saving his tires. Okay, let's play the game. If Killian thinks it's possible, and I would respect Killian's opinion on this, he definitely knows better than I. If he thinks it's possible on a single tank, is he going to stop at all?
This is what I'm saying. Like, maybe there's no stop. There's save the fuel, go for the extreme overcut, which is to not stop and not even have an overcut, just have the whole piece of bread to yourself.
Wow. Well, he has to outrace and outmaneuver Gergo Panker, who at this point is sort of running him down. I wouldn't say running him down, but he's definitely back there and he is gaining.
Pressure continues out. Panker, though, just got to see where he goes down to. I mean, 145.360 his last lap, a 145.147 coming out from Mike Noble, so kind of fires back for both of them. 144.6 for Lima and 144.5 from Babin. So it's interesting to see. Ooh, Mike loose.
What was that?
Very loose coming out through the exit of the S's. Here we get a little replay. The slapper. Catches some dirt. Lucky to save that, really.
Hashtag saved, I think, is what we're going to go with that. He was lucky, and if he wasn't the world-class driver that he was, that could have been ugly. Excellent save by Mike Noble. And Killian actually giving me further information here, texting me, saying that it is possible even without fuel saving. There's a Porsche off into the inside dirt. You don't see that very often. But he says it's possible to make it on a full fuel load without even saving, but he reckons in the final 15 minutes, which is fast approaching, he reckons the tires are going to fall off, but he doesn't think it'll matter too much because he'll be so far out in front that it won't really matter. So I think it's safe to say that is a strategy, but thanks to Killian Ryan and Meenan there for the insider info. Very interesting indeed to know that now.
inside trades, always going to be beneficial. And 25 minutes on the clock then for these drivers to make up time. I mean, a lot of the mid-pack not as close as we thought they might be. There's a lot of time penalties for drivers to serve out in some of the closer battles too, which is unfortunate for them because that's going to put a big spanner in the works for the efforts that they've dropped down today. But for the front runners, the top 5, it's certainly been interesting, and it comes down to a lot of strategy now in the closing phase of the race. A lot of the efforts, etc., put in from the driving style and the driving side, but come time of checkered flag, I think drivers will look back at that whiteboard and go, there was an element here that was definitely affected out by the way that we chose to do these pit stops.
Yeah, I think a lot of people here are going to gain, if it works or it doesn't work, everybody is going to gain information that they'll know for next time. As Andre Felix coming in for a stop, he's going to go ahead and get service to his number 88 Phoenix Racing Portugal car. This is his second stop of the race, so certainly something either amiss or he wasn't feeling it as he comes in. We assume for tires, maybe a bit of damage repair. I don't see anything strange with the car, though. But either way, in pit road, and so is Hughes, in fact, directly in front of him. Bart Macha, what can you say about him? He has been all over the pack today. He was briefly on pole, and then he wasn't, and then he was, and then he wasn't even in the top 5 in his class, and then all of a sudden he was leading again in a blink of an eye. That's sort of how it's been for the GT4 field leader today. Bart Macha Connection Loss Racing, but way out in front now and in command of GT4. And like George said at the beginning, lovely to see some of these world-class drivers electing, because it was their choice, they electing to go to the GT4 for a different sort of challenge here today.
GT4 Silver, Igor Ornst. He's also been having a good drive out here. And of course, that 4 races in 1 hour and 30 minutes then has 4 race winners come checkered flag, and that's always going to be cool. So good to see that everybody out here putting up their best foot forward. And not necessarily always racing on track for position, but you are racing in class, and you want to get the very best finish that you can. Andre Felix. Oh, sorry, JC.
No, I was just agreeing with you. I was like, indeed, I the more classes, the merrier.
It's way more fun being able to get as many people involved in the action as possible. Not always possible to stream all the splits, but when all the splits can be in one stream, then why not try that? Yeah. We just eventually sometime 120 cars, 1 split, let's go. Or not 1 split, but 1 stream. 4 splits, 30 cars each. That would be nuts. Imagine.
Well, Nick Babin is chasing down Diego Lima right now. This gap was as big as 2.5 seconds following the pit stop, and now it is under 2 seconds, fluctuating in between 1.5 to 2 seconds, depending on what sector they in and where they catch traffic, of course. I wonder if traffic is a factor for Lima, or if maybe this is just the pace that they have now, one way or another. Big slide there, getting the car turned for the corner as they head up towards Leacock. But either way, Babin can see the man that he's chasing down, and he notices that bright orange Phoenix Racing Portugal team is getting bigger out of his windshield, and that's all that he needs. Gergo Panker now, after catching Mike Noble for a good 10 minutes, has now dramatically fallen off the pace in relation to leader Mike Noble. Now and I think we see exactly why. Every time they do that, I'm afraid they're going to hit that tire wall, and he very nearly slammed into it right there. But I think that tells you why. Gergo Panker is a little off of Noble's pace all of a sudden. I think the car, as Killian Ryan said, is the tires are starting to go away.
First signs coming out, JC Lee, that the struggle of the grip levels is there, and maybe not even the first signs, but some more prominent signs coming out. And at the back end there needs to stay very comfortably behind the front end for the next 20 minutes for Gergo Panker as he continues to attempt a pit stop strategy that is very different to the likes of this man, Thiago Lima, behind him. And Babin, he's making some progress through here as well. I mean, 1.3 seconds behind Lima, and very certainly can catch up to that if Babin makes, or if Lima makes any mistakes. We see him taking a lot of curb through the S's. Babin doing the same thing, kicking up a bit of dirt in the background. But, you know, you've got the new tire sets to work with. You've got to use it to your advantage.
Yeah, I mean, you absolutely can. It's definitely a strategy. And if you came in for tires, then you're not worried about saving them. You're not worried about being mean to them. So use them up. Hello, everybody out there watching this race right now. Glad to have all of you with us. Have you been enjoying today's racing action from Kyalami? Well, we hope you are. And if you have been, why not like and subscribe to RCI TV so you don't miss a thing. Did you know we have a 24-hour race here at Kyalami coming up next Saturday? George will be there. I'll be there. Combs will be there. We'll all be there, in fact, for that big 24-hour event. We wouldn't want you to miss out on it. And just a big thank you to all of our partners as well that help make this stream and the racing possible. Race Department, AK Informatica, Speed Lab, Sim Racing, GP, and Raceface for everything that they do to help keep us on the track. And I'm Jesse Lee here with the South African himself, George Smith, and of course, our brand new broadcaster, Jake Combs. I can't believe it. He's done such a great job, and he's kept up with us. He's at least kept us in the playpen today.
Yes, and he's done a great job of giving us the camera angles and the perspectives that we've needed to unravel the story, tell the narrative that it has been. And the race clock indicates 18 minutes left on the clock. So things are certainly getting closer and closer to wrapping up. We'll be able to crown our victor in the Porsche Battle event. 4 victors, in fact, across their different splits and the different classes. So should be a good one at the end of the day. Kun Sabo from WPI is in that number 104. He is trying his best to catch back up to Maravilla, who, of course, has a 5-second penalty to his name. So that's going to work out for this man. He does lead out in that silver class for the GT3s at the moment. But overall, would like to get into the top 10, I'm sure. With a 5-second penalty there, very much doable for him if he tries.
Yeah, and of course they're all racing in class for in-class victory, but an overall top 10, when you know that you're beating pro cup drivers, well, that's just gravy, isn't it? Happy birthday to you if you can pull that off. And it's like a carrot on a stick. It's dangling right there. You know, some of these camera angles that Jake's showing us, it just shows you how much they are digging off these corners and how sideways these cars get. That was so hard for me to wrap my brain around when learning how to drive these things, is you almost drive them sideways to get the things to turn. They're so loose, and to get any speed out of them, you're turning and you feel like you're going to spin, but that's really just how you have to drive these things. And occasionally when you're on a curve, like right there, you see the car in front, Lima, you see how sideways that car gets in the corners. That's just how you drive these things to be fast.
Yeah, it just does have a different driving style indeed, and that's kind of what makes these kind of events fun. These cup cars are, you know, on the verge of always trying to just murder you and not let you have a good race. But getting to the point where you are able to conquer them and comfortably drive them, fun and rewarding, and the racing between the drivers obviously regulated by having the same cars. and then giving you a very skill-based session where, the best of the best are able to place where they need to place.
I just think it's sort of ironic. Keep in mind, we're entering the final 15 minutes of the race. That's the point where RCI's own Killian Ryan Meenan thinks that these tires are going to fall off. Now, Noble and Panker are separated by 10 seconds. Well, Lima is 15 seconds behind, but Lima's preoccupied with Babin, who is more than caught up at this point. He is on the march. And you have to wonder if that's enough gap. They'd have to, of course, catch about a second a lap. So I would have to agree that that is enough gap. But for Lima, you have to be thinking, like, what went wrong here? I was winning this race handily, and now I might not even finish on the podium.
I mean, that's why I said you're going to go back to the drawing board, and if someone out maneuvers you by not going into the pits at all because you thought that you had to go into the pits just based on the time, then you 100% go back remembering the next time, like, well, strategy wise this has to be different. It's not the same as what I'd imagine in my regular GT3 races, and I need to change up my perspective.
Well, Noble absolutely throttling the field right now. He has walked Gergo Panker out to about 10.5 seconds. So no threat from behind as Andre Felix comes into pit road for a third time. Obviously something amiss with that car. But the battle right here for third place in class right now as Nick Babin goes all sorts of over the curbs, very quickly corrects and actually doesn't even lose time. And that was a very scary moment. That could very quickly, in a less experienced driver's hands, George Smith, that could turn into disaster and end your race.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Lesser things have happened to drivers before, and watching that clock tick down, it's not where you want anyone to make that mistake. Babin so close to the back of Lima here, and this is going to cost them both onto Mike Noble. If Mike ever does have to go into the pits, he might be going long. He might be going long indeed, and I'm keen to see what goes down. I see an interesting question coming out in our chat here about Jimmy Broadbent getting a seat in a real-life racing car. I mean, from my side, I think that's phenomenal. What Jimmer has done for sim racing is incredible. I think that his image and everything that he's done kind of leads to the ability for him to sort of transition into that. He gives a lot to teams in that. And for me, I hope that he actually translates into, the same sort of thing that we saw with our world's fastest gamer going out and getting into that McLaren and showing that, there is an ability for sim to seat type things. And regardless of experience in the past, you want to see sim racers be able to chase that dream down. I think the barrier to entry to racing has always been difficult, and I think that sim racing opens up an opportunity. And if more teams can legitimize finding talent through sim racing, then for all of us, that's freaking incredible. Grow the pie, eat the pie together.
Well, in Jimmy's case specifically, he has it. And it is what we refer to in any sort of sport as the factor that you need to have to be successful. He's a natural at it. And even when he hasn't practiced a ton, he picks up on things incredibly quickly, and he's able to perform above and beyond what you would expect somebody in his position to do. He's got this drive with Praga in Britcar. I could not be more ecstatic for him, and certainly he's going to be incredibly nervous in that situation, as you normally would be. But I think he's gonna be just fine. It would not surprise me one bit if that team climbed to the top step of the podium in their class or whatever class they are in. I don't think him coming from a gaming aspect is a hindrance or anything, because again, he has karting experience and he's driven real life race cars in demonstration runs before, so he has enough knowledge, in my opinion, to go out there and not only make his mother proud, but he can make us proud as well. And I think he'll do just that. Jimmy Broadbent has the it factor, and Jardier said before that when teaming up with Jimmy, the thing that impressed him the most was his ability to get into a sim or a car that he had very little practice with a setup he wasn't familiar with, and go out there and already be about 90-ish% there. And that's what I'm talking about with the it factor. Jimmy just has it. He's going to be fine. I'm going to be disappointed if he doesn't win, George.
I mean, I wouldn't be disappointed. I feel like that's not where I would be at there, but I think that there's big opportunities that open up between the two worlds, and I think that people that are in that influencer space that continue to grow it, they get an applause from me, and I think in the bigger world, everybody would hate that word, but it's important to realize that that's what opens the eyes up from big sponsors, and the way that the world works is to monetize things. So you have to understand that the word influencer exists for the reason of it's an influence to people, and people abuse it. That's the problem. The term has been abused by people to ruin the way that it actually should be. It should be a perfectly honest and good term when used in the right sense. People have abused it.
Do you know that I called Shawnee that once, and she didn't talk to me for a month?
I mean, she probably just didn't talk to you for a month because you're Jesse, but probably used that as an excuse as well.
I don't know about that, but if that is the case, my heart is absolutely broken. Well, one thing is for sure, this race is still on for a couple of these positions here. We don't know what's going to happen up at the top of the podium. Mike Noble seems to have this race in hand. Gergo Panker losing time to Diego Lima now, as Panker's pace has plummeted all of a sudden. I think Noble's backed off his pace ever so slightly with his old tires. He has about 81 minutes out there on that set, and Panker giving up time to Lima. Lima, who is fighting off Babin, and this is Babin's front spoiler splitter looking out at the back of Lima's car. So this race well and truly on now. I would say for second place is he's going to chuck it down to the inside of two. Can't quite get it done. Falls back in line. No harm, no foul. You have to go for it. The hazard lights ablaze on the 93 car.
All over, just saying, we are here. We're in the danger zone. There's 8 minutes to go. I have no intention of letting you through, but I'm going to put my blinkers on to say what's up whilst we try to push ourselves to the limit. Babin on the edge, the 707 chasing down that number 93, and that clock ticking down. You can just see Babin ducking and weaving all over the place, getting into the mirrors, getting into the headspace, and just trying to force the mistake out from the Portuguese driver in front of him.
Well, if they're not in the danger zone yet,
inside the zip on the inside.
Side by side. This could be it. This could be it. It's almost over, and position gain. Babin absolutely robs and mugs Lima at Leacop and gets it done. No chance of a rebuttal at all. Done and dusted into Crocodile. What an absolute move. Thinks about having a look. Can he do it here? I don't think he can. And that position has been gained. The only problem with that now is Babin has lost nearly a second to the leader. Oh, it's going to be a touch. It's going to be a touch and a spin. Lima takes the position away from Babin with contact off the final turn.
Babin actually had a bad exit out through Ingwe there, and the run came out from Lima, but Lima just continued with the momentum through, gave a little spin around. Not going to be able to get the full incident here. Stewards are going to be able to see a much better picture for us, but that does change the impact of their race quite bigly and dramatically at that phase. Perfectly executed overtake at the top of Leocorp. I think Lima astounded us earlier with his overtake coming out through Cheetah earlier on in the same sort of fashion where it was just brave and beautiful. That exit out of Ingwe wasn't beautiful from Lima though, and unfortunately he did have contact then with Babin, and that's put everything on ice just slightly.
Well, the one positive from all of that is Gergo Panker is breathing a sigh of relief because he won't have known what exactly happened but he will have noticed he gained about 1.5 seconds on Lima there. But I'm pretty sure he could piece together what exactly happened considering where Babin ended up. And that's not what you wanted to see. A beautiful move that did not really get rewarded there, you have to say, George. It's unfortunate contact, and like you said, definitely glad I'm not a steward right about now.
No, not with 5 minutes to go and having to decide such things which impact positions so heavily. It's not a nice place to be, but Matcha doesn't care what the stewards have to do, because for him, he's in a very comfortable place at the moment. 3.5 seconds up the road with 5 minutes to go. Unless you make a big mistake, that's a lot of time for someone to have to catch up. You do see Bench in the very background in that purple Cayman in the shot, but I mean, it's a big gap between them there. You see him coming through the kink as Matcha comes down now into the braking zone. It's time. It's possible. 3 seconds then the last timing split update. So as we say it, we find some time. If you guys have not left a cheeky like in our stream as well, if we can smash ourselves up to 50 likes here, Jesse and I get discounts on some good ramen. So you guys help feed the commentary box. And of course, Jake is allowed to decide which flavor we get if we get to 60 likes. So all in all, you guys, you put the pressure in our hand. Oh, big wides out of the exit of Cheetah. Not a place that you want to be building sandcastles. And it can quickly snap back and ruin your night.
Wrong part of South Africa for sandcastles, in my opinion. Well, it has been an interesting day, certainly, for some of the competition. And here are the penalties that have come out since the last time. 5-second penalty for the 100 car for an incident on lap 24. 5-second penalty and a warning for the 32 car on a lap 30 incident. Warnings for the 104 and the 33, and most recently a 15-second penalty just announced for the 93 for contact with the 707. Yeah, so that's going to be the adjudication immediately. That was rapid adjudication for that incident. So they have decided to give Lima a 15-second penalty for contact with Babin off of the final turn. George, thoughts?
You know, I was just kind of thinking of that, so I don't think it's unfair. I think personally the driver behind has the onus not to make the touch. 15 seconds, I think, also goes the way of the time that was lost out there. Babin, 12 seconds down the road here. He was in the lead. That will correct things come race end. Personally think it's an okay penalty coming out. So, at the end of the day, race stewards making the decisions and leaving it away from us as the commentary team.
Yeah, I'm glad that we are definitely not the ones that have to make those calls. They looked at it, figured as well as you did, George. Well, this is your leader, I should say, for FFS Racing, the 1-2-3, Mike Noble, who has run away with this race. I'm going to start calling him No Pit Noble because he has not pitted for tires. We reckoned he could go on fuel, but tires were going to be a bit of an issue. They haven't been an issue for this team. He's actually going to have to run 2 more laps whenever he catches the line this time by, I think. Yep, indeed. Or he could slow down. He has 10 seconds. If he slows down, this could be the final lap for Mike Noble. And for a day where No Pit Noble showed up, I think he's done that before here at RCI, it could be a grand day indeed. And the leader in Porsche Cup Silver here, Consabo, has had a pretty decent race, I must say, for early sort of scrappiness in his category. He has emerged by far and away the victor here, and he'll be feeling good about what he has accomplished.
Matcha in the GT4 Pro class, he's going to lead away in that number 55. He's had a bit of a battle of attrition, an interesting mid-race part, but got his head back together and managed to get himself back up towards the front. So he's going to be super impressed with himself getting up towards the front. 56 seconds on the clock then as we go over to Igor Ornst. He is leading in the Proton, number 30 for the silver tier in the GT4. So 4 race individual winners here today. And overall for us as commentators and spectators, an overall win for all of us because, well, you know, at the end of the day, racing is racing, and getting 4 different classes and tiers of events in the same one, something we haven't really done before. Just combined everyone together. It was good fun. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I've absolutely enjoyed it. Thanks for the company, George and Jake here in the box. Thanks to all the stewards and, of course, everyone at home that tuned in, having a bit of fun here on a Saturday night. Thank you for spending your time with us. Mike Noble is going to take a victory lap here, folks. He did not slow down. He does not care. This man is an absolute animal, and No Pit Noble is going to win this race, barring some immaculate intervention by something or someone. What a race for him, and just an interesting race, all things told. And all this did for me, George, is get me hyped for next weekend, the 24. Most of our regular series that would run on the weekend or at the weekend, they are on a bye week specifically, so everybody can comfortably run the 24. It's going to be a massive race. All the big names, all the heavy hitters, so much action. We're happy to be able to bring that to you next Saturday. Join our Discord and go ahead and subscribe to the RCI TV YouTube channel. Get a popcorn.
We're almost at 2,000 subscribers.
I know,
like
insane.
You know what happens at 2,000 subscribers?
I'm afraid to ask.
Well, I mean, we can't tell people we have to hit 2,000, so we can tell you after. But I mean, like, get us to 2,000, and then we can, like, Jesse can shave his. Can't say that on live stream again, but Mike Noble is going to go and take a race victory here. Thiago Lima going to struggle. Jesse Lee just laughing at me in the background as Hugo Panker, our man in number 2. Also, the No Pit Panker team. I mean, no pit boys, no pants, no whatever. You just you rock out and show out what you can do in an hour and a half. Everybody else going to be looking back going, yeah, I didn't know we could do that without putting. Mike Noble over the line, flashing his lights. He takes the victory from last to first, chucks it over the line. Well, I mean, Stewards don't always like that. He manages not to collide with anybody else who comes over the line as well. But he did throw a nice little 360. I'll give it to him. I'm, again, very impressed with the fact that he did a longer stint. Panker takes home second, and Thiago Lima wrapping up on the third step of the podium temporarily until Babin crossed the line. We have to see if that 15-second time penalty is going to change things up.
Yeah, and here is your GT4 battle. And this actually ended up being a battle after it not being one all race long. But Bart Macha is going to beat Voigt Bench to the line. And that is 1-2 in your GT4 Pro category. And your GT4 Silver driver here, Ernst, has already passed the line. He'll beat Ertan by about 12 seconds in that battle, and all of your podium positions are home safely. Just a few runners left to go. Incredibly successful race as the fireworks and everything else start to go off here at Kyalami. I think that was an excellent precursor to what we will likely see next Saturday in a week's time. And for Mike Noble, it was the sweetest victory. He came in here today saying that, oh, I'm just here to have fun. And, well, if you're going to have fun, might as well celebrate with a win, I guess.
Celebrate with a win. Celebrate with a 360. Bart Matcha doing some drifts for me as well. Big drift fan. Matt Samuel was doing some lawn mowing as our drifter early on, but he managed to come back into P7, so that was pretty good. Matcha's still throwing it out. The tank slapper goes the wrong way, and he will play in the sand. But oh, what a race, what a broadcast it has been. A massive shout out to our partners like we've talked about before: Race Department, AK Informatica, Raceface, Speed Labs, and Sim Racing GP. To you guys, our beautiful viewers, you have made this the place to be on a Saturday night. We had a great Super Pole quali early on for our 24-hour happening next week. Obviously coming over for a Porsche event at Kyalami. Super special to me. Jesse Lee, It's been a phenomenal night of racing. I think it's time for some sleep and some rest and to relax the vocal cords because we've been shouting into these microphones for far too long now.
Yeah, I don't know who keeps putting you and I in the booth together. They pretty much already know how that's going to work, but they keep doing it, and it is an absolute load of fun. George Smith, always a pleasure and an honor to share the booth with G Max. And on behalf of Jake Combs, George Smith, and myself, the entire stewarding department, and everyone here at RCI, thank you for watching. And we will see you next weekend for the 24-hour. We hope to see you there. Have a good night. Have a safe weekend. And until next time.